Hi everybody, my name is Kat, and this will be my first video, at least I think so. I have shot a few of them and haven't had the courage yet to put any of them up, but I'm hoping that this will be the one. As I said, this is my first video, so please be kind and gentle. I'm still learning a lot, and this is probably not going to be edited because the first piece of software that I have actually started editing with, I'm finding very hard to navigate. It's not very user-friendly. There's not a lot of direction in the controls. So if anybody can recommend very user-friendly beginner video editing software, that would really be great. It's interesting because I'm a graphic designer and I'm great with graphic design programs, and I've been doing that for like 20 years. But video editing is a fairly new thing to me, especially in the way of actual editing YouTube videos. So tips and help on that would be great. Something either not too expensive or even free, of course, is better. So for now, this will probably have to go up unedited. Eventually, I'd like to be able to do some editing on a minimal level. I'm not a huge bells and whistles person with videos, but a little something here or there would be nice. And I haven't decided whether I'd like to just do this live type sort of crafting with me kind of videos, or if I want to just show things and then do voiceovers. And maybe even speed up some things. I kind of like both from YouTubers that I see. I would love your opinions on what you prefer. I love so many YouTubers and so many different creative things that are being done. Some people like to show things and then, you know, speed it up and do voiceovers, and I like that too. And it's especially nice when you might have limited time, but I also like videos where people are just sitting and talking with you and showing you what they do. Sometimes I'll even actually work on projects that I'm doing while playing their videos for sort of company. I don't know if anybody else does that. It almost sounds a little bit crazy, but yet not. Anyway, yeah, so I haven't decided which I'm going to do, but I'll definitely take some feedback and shape these things as I go along. So this video, if it is the one that I in fact do finally upload, which I'm slowly gathering up the courage, well, backing up a little bit, let me just say that there are so many wonderful YouTubers out there that I love. Who inspire me, especially some will inspire me, you know, at other times, and others will inspire me at other times depending on what I'm into. I don't know if you're anything like me, but I will, although my interests are always artistic and creative, whether it be painting or paper crafting or whatever it is, and please pardon all the sounds and noises from outside. I have an open window because I have to have fresh air, and there's nothing I can do because it's the best light. But anyway, I love everything from painting to paper crafting, and if you're anything like me, you know, for months at a time my interest will lie in one area, and then for months at a time it might lie in another, but eventually I always come full circle back to pretty much all of them. I think it just keeps my interest up and my energy up. But I watch so many wonderful YouTubers who I will definitely be mentioning as I go along, especially the ones that really inspire me the most. And if you check my subscriptions, you'll see the ones that I am subscribed to, and I'm always adding more. I couldn't say enough wonderful things about the people that I watch out there and the things that they share, and they inspire me so much and give me so much energy. But I'm just trying to remember what I was saying. I'm a little bit nervous, but yeah, so my interests will sort of change from time to time, but they're always something artistic and usually involving something with color or with paper crafting. Paper crafting is probably my first love. I am a crafter from way back. 20 years ago, my mother and I had a crafting business where we would travel to crafting fairs and the like, but she got very ill and it became too hard to maintain the business that we had together and to take off in the directions that we wanted to go, and I was taking care of her at the time. So, you know, that only lasted a short time, but while it did, it was wonderful. We did primarily crafting with things like flowers and baskets and materials and dried flowers and things like that. And then over the years, from when my son was little and I was home a lot with him, I developed a love of graphic design, and I have to say now that I am an eye candy junkie, and Pinterest is quite an addiction at times. If you're anything like me and you go there and you could just spend hours and get lost, of course, saving images that you want to do something creative with, you know, whether it's putting it into a journal or a planner or whatever the case may be. Anyway, I don't want to feel like you have to get to know me all in one video, but what I was going to say was I've gotten to know so many wonderful YouTubers, and on some levels you can feel like you know somebody just from watching enough of their videos. But the problem is while I can know them and their wonderful creations and the things that they share, I can't have people get to know me until I put myself out there. So here I am doing so, and if I haven't gotten that across, my main objective in putting out videos is connecting to people and sharing what I love to do. I don't have a shop or anything like that. I don't know if I will, maybe one day, but right now I just want to share the ideas that I have, like others so generously do, and connect to others that love to do the things that I love to do, and maybe even things that I haven't even explored yet. So anyway, without further ado, again, apologies for the noises outside. For some reason, I live in an area where people love to rev engines and race around. And admittedly, there were some times I liked that when I was in my late teens or early 20s, but yeah. Anyway, so I apologize for the noises. There's nothing I can do short of never getting around to filming or filming when it's too late and dark. So anyway, as I said, without further ado, I want to get into what I have set up here. I have this set up like this because I was taking pictures for the thumbnail of the video, and then I left it and I'm like, okay, why don't I just film starting with that? So what we have here, of course, is a beautiful purple rainbow, as I like to call it. It's just so yummy to me. And this is the beginning, which I hopefully will have in the title once I get this up. I'm going to be calling this, I actually wrote it down so I wouldn't forget, but now I don't know what I did with the paper. Okay. The exact words is not important now. I will have it up in the title, but it's going to be, well, first of all, I'm going to be doing this in a sort of larger scheme of things and then a smaller thing. And what I mean by that is the entire series, what's the word I'm looking for? The overlying series is going to be about my first junk journal creation. And if I back up for a quick second, I will say that I had attempted one a couple years ago. I have been interested in junk journals for a good 4 or 5 years now, and there's so many YouTubers that I have been enjoying since then. And I attempted one a couple years ago where I gutted a book and put in a binder mechanism because I wanted to create it for somebody so that they could put in whatever materials they wanted easily. So I even glued down this binder mechanism and decorated the cover and everything, but it got lost by the wayside. You know, life happens, yada yada. And I will eventually finish that, but I started to think the best way to dive in to getting my feet really wet and completing one and getting this done is doing something close to my heart, because the way I work artistically is the closer that something is to my heart when I'm doing something artistic, the more passionate I get about it, the more I can put into it, the more energy it gives me, the more inspired I feel. At least that's what gets me started. And then once so to speak, the wheels are greased and I've gotten the inspiration and the energy and the drive, I can go off to doing other things for other people. And I mean, initially, a lot of projects will start with making things for people I love, like my other half and my son. Actually, card making has been a big love of mine over the last couple of years. And I feel that two of the cards that came out the best are the ones that I made for my son and for my other half, because I love them so much, of course. And it can be easier to really put your passion into and create something beautiful when you either know the person and what they love, or love them, or both. So I thought about that, and I thought, since I seem to create better and have more energy and feel more inspired for things that are close to my heart, what better way than to dive in to something really close to my heart? And that is a journal about my mother and myself for my son. My mother died quite young. She was in her early 50s, and she had gotten ill in her late 30s with muscular dystrophy, and we were very close for pretty much most of it. And I had taken care of her for a lot of those years, if not most of them. And at one point, she eventually came to live with me in an in-law apartment, so I could watch over her and take care of her. But even as a child, we were very, very close. She was an amazing, selfless, giving, incredible, angel-like human being who thought of everybody but herself, which is, I feel, one of the reasons that she did become ill. But to me, she will always be a hero, one of my heroes, actually my very first. And one of the things that I have felt sad about most since losing her, which was over a decade ago, was the things that I didn't get to ask her, the stories that I didn't get to hear. You know, granted, there were so many that I did get to hear. We were very close. There was so much that she shared with me. I have so many memories with her from when I was a little girl up until through her illness. But there are so many things that I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that most of you have lost at least somebody that you love, and you understand what I mean. That no matter how much you know or how much time you have, it's never enough, you know, especially for a truly wonderful person. There's always unanswered questions. And I find that there's even more when it comes to somebody who has either been ill a long time or died younger, because of course you don't have as much time. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, I don't want to leave my son with that. I don't know what life is going to, what direction life is going to take me, or what's going to happen. You know, none of us can know. So I just have to not take for granted that, you know, I may have a lot of time, I may not. My father also died somewhat young, Granted, he lived roughly 10 years longer than my mother did, but it still seems so young to me. Younger people, I know because I was once younger, we were all once younger, think that certain ages are so old. And the funny thing is as you get older, certain ages are no longer that old to you anymore. Isn't it funny how that works? It's sort of a reversal thing. You know, and as you approach your 40s and even get close to 50, you start to think, well, 50 is not that old, 60 is not that old, and when you're 20, it's really old, you know. Anyway, I digress, but it's short. It's also very short nevertheless. So when I thought about all the questions that I was left with and the things that I wanted to know, like, I know so much about my mother, but I don't even know what her favorite color was, and I'm not sure how that happened. And I think it's because she loved almost all colors, especially bright colors and pastel colors, which is where I think I got my love for it. But I don't think I ever asked her the pointed question of what is your favorite color, or she ever expressed that to me. I know her favorite flower, I know some of her favorite authors, I know, you know, so many favorites and things that she loved, but I don't know the exact one favorite color. And that could be because she didn't have a one favorite, probably a few, but I do know that growing up we had a pastel, soft, sunny, beautiful yellow kitchen, we had a mint green walled living room, and so on and so forth. So I know she loved pastel colors, and those might have been her favorites. I think she even loved purple, of course, but she knew that I loved purple. But I don't know what her favorite color. And, you know, questions like that bother me. And I think the best thing I can do from learning this, you know, about the unanswered questions and the information we don't have, is pass on to my son something better, in that maybe he'll have less questions. I want to give him a perspective on my mother and I that he might not have had without putting something together for him. I want him to get to know me and my mother so that someday he will have that closeness and those pieces of us that he might not have had. So this is what I am basing this journal journey on. And what I'm going to be calling it is a hybrid journal. And what that is I love all things vintage so very much. I love vintage images and postcards and fashions and things. I particularly love the time period of the late 1800s, early 1900s, some Renaissance, anything vintage. But I also love modern colors and designs and materials and whatnot. Being a graphic designer, you know, you get exposed to that and work with it. And I wanted to have the best of both worlds, the best of some of modern designs. I love scrapbooking paper. I have an addiction to paper pads and scrapbook paper, by the way, and have way too many, but that's a story for another time. But I love, one of the reasons I get so many is I love the designs and patterns, and particularly florals, and I'm very drawn to pastel colors and bright, happier, vivid colors. And I wanted to incorporate that into something that was about me and my mother for my son. But at the same time, I wanted a vintage feel, because I wanted to do the vintage themes and the junk journal and all of that. So in order to bring both together, I'm calling it a hybrid journal, or hybrid junk journal, you know, however you want to call it. It's going to be a keepsake that records so much and has little tidbits about both of us. And there will even be some things in there about my son in relation to when he was little, and the time that he spent with his grandmother, and, you know, the times he and I spent together, and so on and so forth. So anyway, now that I have spent nearly 20 minutes on this introduction, I apologize if I haven't done it entirely succinct. But what I'm leading to with here is the overlying series is going to be about this hybrid journal journey of mine. And I even have a title for it, which I will get to in another video, because that's also going to take some explaining. But the underlying series is going to be little chunks of projects which basically build up towards making this journal. And then, of course, there will be other things after that and other journals, but I wanted to start with this one because I knew it would give me the most inspiration and energy, and after taking off, it will lead me to whichever direction I need to be going. And we'll see where that goes. I'm pretty open-ended with that. But anyway, what started me on this portion is I started looking into glassine bags and envelopes. Pardon me, I'm going to take a sip of my drink. I started looking into glassine bags and envelopes to put into my my journal, and I also started looking into YouTube videos about it. And what I found was, when it came to looking around online and shopping, that glassine bags came in basically that clearish, translucent, I have them nearby. Well, you know what I'm talking about, but I thought that I had that handy for when I started the video. Oh yes, I do. They're right here next to me. Apologies. I don't mean to be shuffling on you. I had pretty much everything ready, but you can't think of everything. Anyway, I mean, you all know, I'm sure, what I'm talking about. Glassine envelopes, they all come in this clearish, somewhat translucent or white, whatever you want to call it, colors, but I haven't really seen any, and I think at some points I have seen some in like brownish, more vintagey shades, but I haven't seen any that come in colors. At least I haven't. If they're out there, definitely turn the camera a little bit, point me in the right direction and let me know in the comments, because I would love to find other colors and designs. I've seen YouTube videos, which is one of the things that inspired me. I've seen people creating their own out of things like parchment and wax paper and whatnot, and that inspired me, and I even did something with that for another video. And I've also seen people decorate them, but I haven't really seen people dyeing them. At least not that I've seen. They may be out there, but I haven't seen any. So I started to think, you know what, okay, if I can't find them to buy, I'll make my own. So this was one individual project, and this took the better part of one day, maybe a second day to do, and most of the materials that I used are right here. So I'm just going to dive in and show you what I've done and explain a little bit about it. And either in the next video or one of the following videos, I had wanted to film doing this, but I wasn't sure whether this was going to be the video I would upload or where I was going to start. I wasn't even sure if some of the ideas I had were going to be successful, so I was a bit nervous about filming, which is silly because you could always delete it. But anyway, so I just dove in and did it, and I can show you my sample, and then in a follow-up video I can make these, because my journal's not going to just have purple, of course. It's going to be a primary color because it's my favorite, but I went online to one of those online design palette places and came up with a color palette, and if I think of it I will try to link it below. If not, remind me, and I can pass that info on either for this video or the next one. But based on things in nature, it usually has to do with nature for me. That's one of my biggest loves. I found a color palette that involved more pastel shades and even darker shades of purple, pink, and again, pastel pink, pastel green, and pastel yellow. Those are the ones that I wanted. And those are the ones that I also believe that were more my mother's favorite colors as well. Purple and yellow are my favorite colors. I believe for her it might have been green and pink, but again, like I told you before, I'm not 100% sure, so I just went with my gut. So this session, of course, was all purple, but what I was thinking I would do is, now that you've seen samples, in a follow-up video, I can I can dye in the other colors. I can do the pinks and the greens and the yellows. I've done a couple of yellows, but mostly purples. So anyway, let me tell you what I've done here. Love my purple rainbow. I could just stare at it. I could either stare at it, or if you're anything like me, I could just sit here listening to them. I love the crinkling. Okay, so what I have here is these first two. One of the, actually, let me tell you, back up really quick and tell you what got me started and inspired me. The more I think back, the more that this goes back, so I'll try not to go back too far. But what started me off was the sewing machine, which is here behind the lace. As I said, I only laid this out to take a photo, and then it looked so pretty I thought I would film with it. And then in future videos, of course, this is my kitchen table. You're going to see the workspace and the sewing machine and everything. A few different YouTubers have really inspired me to get to sewing. I have a 23-year-old son, and yet I have never done anything on a sewing machine. I've about touched one like that. I've never, other than that, I've never really touched a sewing machine in my entire life, which I find really funny. But you know, even as a crafter or an artist, you can't get to everything. So anyway, I have been watching a few YouTubers lately who really inspire me with sewing, and I have to mention them. It is Wendy's Journal Adventure, and Gail Agostinelli, I'm going to say, is how I believe it's pronounced. I grew up around quite a few Italians, and I think that's kind of how you say it. I apologize if I got it wrong, but I think it's Agostinelli. They inspired me a lot. Jessica Huffman, I'm a Cool Mom. And I know there's others that I might be forgetting, and as I think of them, I will definitely say they inspire me so much. One thing that really inspired me was Wendy and Gail are so lovely, such lovely people and so creative. But I don't recall if Gail said in particular, but I know Wendy had said in one of her videos that she has been sewing like most of her life or something. And I love what they do. But one thing that inspired me was Jessica had said that she was a beginner sewer. And I believe she had said she had never sewn before. But I know she has said multiple times she's a beginner. And she just went out and got a machine and started working with it and doing it with paper crafting. And I have been eyeing people who sew with paper crafting for a while. But I've been intimidated by a sewing machine, by a silly thing like a sewing machine, thinking that I couldn't do it or that it took so much learning or whatnot, and there were so many things I wanted to learn. But after seeing Jessica and how easily she took to it, and, you know, it came to her, and the things that she was doing with it, I thought, okay, you know, that's not so hard. You just jump in and sew a few things. And the first night I got it, I took this deli paper, and I'll go into this more later and show you, but I sewed this loopy stitch and then glued down some ribbon to make my own glassine bags, because I had seen people using adhesives, but I wasn't totally happy with not what they created per se, but the possibilities that adhesives had of coming apart or peeling or whatever with the wax paper. So I thought, you know, just sew it together. So yeah, I created this out of the deli paper the first night I had the machine home. And I thought, okay, you know what? I have to say, if you haven't sewed yet because you haven't gotten around to it, or you're intimidated, or even the cost, you know, when costs or when finances permit, because it's not like it's nothing, but there are some models out there that are, you know, $100 or less, which compared to a lot of machines out there is very inexpensive. But as soon as you're able, just jump in. It's not as bad as you think. If I could do it, anyone can do it. And like I said, I did these my first night. This is the other one. I did a zigzag stitch on both sides and just put this dollar store note card in here, which I love, by the way. Love the colors. And then glued the ribbon down on it. If I had thought of it, I would have sewn the ribbon down first and then sewed it shut, but I didn't. But I still love that. And I just used Fabri-Tac on this so it would dry quickly and I could position it, and you know, I figured it would work better with the fabric of the ribbon. But yeah, I made this my first night that I had the machine, and after that the ideas just took off. I don't know if I'm alone in this, but after the first day of having it, I kept looking around thinking, oh, I could make this and I could make that, and you know, you start biting off more than you can chew. I even started making a curtain for something around the house, and you know, I started making a traveler's notebook cover and all sorts of things. So you just, once you get started, you can't seem to stop yourself. So I'm telling you, if you're intimidated like I was, jump in. It's not that hard. I mostly learned from YouTube videos how to use it, and then I took a couple sewing classes at Joann's, and I'm loving it. So anyway, this is what started it, was the idea that I wanted to dye glassine bags, since I couldn't find colored ones, and I wanted to sew them. So that's where I started. That's inspiration number one. And then I started thinking, okay, what can I dye them with? And again, typical of a creator or crafter, I started looking at all of my mediums and thinking, oh, I could dye it with this and I could dye it with that, and it sort of gets like almost addicting, or a fever or something, you know, like that spring fever you get when you feel like you just have to clean everything. So these two, which I keep handling because I love the feel and the sound, and I love, let's see if I can get that light, I love how satiny and shiny they look. Aren't they beautiful? And all it is, yep, just acrylic paints. That's all that I did to make these. So over here, this is just a spray bottle that I picked up from Daiso, but I think most dollar stores have them, or Walmart or something. And this particular color is made up of this bottle of Apple Barrel from Walmart. This is Wisteria, like my favorite color. Otherwise known to me as lilac. Which is my favorite color, purple, because lilacs are my favorite flower, favorite color, but only the ones that have the really beautiful scent to them. Those are the ones, I mean, I like all of them, don't get me wrong, but my favorite one is the one with the beautiful smell and that color. Also because it was my mother's favorite flower, so it sort of, you know, became mine. So anyway, I took this color, I put maybe that much in the bottle, and filled it to maybe about, I don't know, halfway or 3/4 with water. I honestly forget. You just, you have to just test it out, the consistency. I would say make sure you shake it really well. What I like to do is, hang on, I'm going to take another sip of my drink. My apologies. What I like to do is keep this off. Put my finger over the top, or a napkin or something. Please don't get it everywhere. And then I shake it really, really well before I put the nozzle on. And that's so that if there's any clumps or whatever of the acrylic paint, I don't want it to get stuck in the mechanism. So I did that, and then every time I go to use it, I just shake it really well. And it's very successful. I started off, let's see, I have nearby some things I started with. I started off spraying some papers and things in some of the bags. I also started off by putting, I have it back there somewhere. You've all seen bottles of tempera paint, so it's not like I need to show you. I had a bottle of white tempera paint sitting around the house. So I took that and I added simple food color. This is the Neon McCormick colors. I added the purple to the white tempera paint, and that made this one, oh sorry, I'm not holding it high enough. That made this one here. I don't know if you can tell in the video, but this is, it's got a very chalky feel to it, and that's from the tempera paint. As does this one. I love how this came out. I love the white, almost marbling effect. And I think the back of this is the same. This is freezer paper. I was trying out everything. Wait till you see in my next video all the things that I have tried out dyeing for journals. But anyway, this is the shiny side, and it has also an interesting effect. You can see the shininess of the shiny side, and then this is the papery side, and I figured I could, I don't know, paste this to something and make it like a journaling card, or make it into a small pocket or something. I don't know, I haven't figured it out, but it's got a chalky feel and I love that. But if you don't like the chalky feel, I think this is a tempera paint one too. This the very first things that I did, my memory of it is a little sketchy, but as I went along, I kind of remember most of what I did. This is either tempera paint or the acrylic paint. It might be the acrylic. It looks like it to me. But yeah. So let's see. This one here. This was done with acrylic paint. Well, the acrylic spray paint that I made. And I love, love, love the color. It's still semi-translucent, and of course I love the feel. And you'll notice, let me get a sample of what I started with. By the way, I found a great deal for these. A bag of 100, oops, as I drop them everywhere. Why is it things go wrong when you get on camera, right? Alright, I'll pick those up after. I got a bag of 100 of these on Amazon. And I will try to remember to link it. If I forget, I apologize. It's my first video. Remind me, and I definitely would love to share. I always love to share. The more the better. But yeah, I got 100 of these, roughly, what, 4 by 6 or so. And so you'll notice that when I use the acrylic, the watered down acrylic spray, it gets a little less shiny. Can you see that? I have a couple of different lights plus the outside light, which is quickly going down, so it's well after 9. Yeah, you see how shiny that is? And then this one, it dulls down the shininess a little, which I kind of like. I like both, you know, but I wanted dyed. So yeah, that's with the spray. And then these two, as I said before, I put into one of these Ranger mini misters with some water, and I sprayed them down. And at first I was a little disappointed because, as you can see next to the other, it didn't color it very much. It didn't dye it very much. But what I do love is when you look at it in the light, and it's kind of hard, oh, there it goes. You see the little blotches that it made? I love that. And I love how pearly it is. It's, you can definitely see it on camera, but it doesn't do it justice how pearly this bag is. So I love that. And that was this pink one, which is, what's the color called? Antique Silk. Interesting that it's called that when it's a pearlish pink color, but yeah, it looks very pink, very baby pink and pearlized, but it's called Antique Silk, and I got this on sale at Michael's or something. So that was that one, and then this one was this one, which is called Eclipse. Interesting name for basically a lilac shade in a pearly finish. And again, I'm not sure if the lighting quite captures the color sufficiently, but if you look at it like next to the white of the lace, I don't know if you can see that. It looks more pinkish in person, I would have to say, but it definitely has some lilac undertones. So yeah, that's that one. And let's see what else. Oh, these little bags here. I'll get into that in just a minute. So, okay, the next one here. This is Distress Paint. Wilted Violet. Basically what I did with this, oh yes, I remember now. Do I have them handy? I thought I did. It seems like no matter what you do to keep things handy for a video so that you can be efficient, it's never enough. Well, I think I have one of them over here. It's rather cut down, but let's see, do I have it under my things here? No. Okay, it can wait, it's not a big deal. Here's a little piece, but you've seen them, makeup sponges. I got them at Dollar Tree, I believe. This is a very tiny piece. It was a full piece, one of those triangular like ones. Gosh, I wish I could find what I did with the package. It's back here somewhere. Let's see. No. All my stuff. Supplies, glue, scissors. Okay, anyway, you get the picture. The wedge, that's it. That's the word I was looking for. A wedge-shaped makeup sponge. So I took a little piece of packaging acetate, and I dabbed this down, and I think I might have added just a little bit of water, but not much because it's already very liquidy, but I wanted to dilute it a little bit. And then basically I just quickly and swiftly ran the sponge across the bag on both sides. And then when it was done drying, I took just the raw Distress Paint bottle and just did this around the edges to give it that beautiful edge. And this is also one of my favorites. I love this color. This is one of my favorite shades of purple. I'd have to say that and this are my favorite shades of purple. Or this, you know, I mean, they're pretty similar. This is more of a bluish purple, and this is more of a pinkish purple, but these are like my favorite shades of purple. And I love the definition of the outline. So that's that one. And then, let's see. Some of this I'm going, well, all of this I'm going on memory. So, okay, these are oxides, and you can tell by the somewhat chalky finish to them. Let's see, I believe this one was the shaded lilac, and this one, let's see if I can remember this one. It's either one of the pink shades. I'm honestly having trouble remembering. Oh, it could be Seedless Preserves. I'm not 100% sure. I worked with all of them. But again, when I do this with you, I can, if you like, if you really like this color and you let me know, I'll endeavor to figure out which one it was, if it matters that much. But it was either Worn Lipstick, there's another pink shade which I don't have over here, or the Seedless Preserves, or Wilted Violet. I'm leaning towards Seedless Preserves, I think. This is the color I used to get this, I believe. But anyway, you try whatever color you like. I took, again, a piece of acetate, and I just push down on the stamp pad like you do when you're going to do, what was it called again? Ink smooshing, people call it. Just like you were going to do that, you just push it down onto a surface like glass or acetate or something. I even have a ceramic tile over under the lace over here. Lots of things you could do it on. And then I sprayed a little water. I'm trying to remember how I did it. I don't think I ink smooshed. Oh, I remember what I did now. The acetate had a little bit of a divot in it. So basically I tipped it to the corner, and I think I used a piece of paper to create a funnel, and I poured it into one of these, and then I sprayed the back. But you could also get similar effects. I think at one point, in order to get enough coverage, I was even taking my finger and just sort of, you know, if there were like little pools of ink, I was just sort of pushing it around and moving it, which I have to give you a little tip on. Gloves. I did that with my bare hands, and later that evening, my index finger blew up to like twice the size of the other one. And I know these are supposed to be, I believe they're supposed to be non-toxic, yeah. Acid-free, non-toxic, yes. But still, you know, depending on your skin type, there are things that will irritate it. You know, anything, even food coloring will irritate it if you put enough of it on. These are hybrid inks which blend dye and pigment inks, so they can be very strong. So nitrile gloves, you can get a box of them at Costco, or I think even smaller packages at Dollar Tree. As you can see, they're quite heavily dyed. That's what I should have been wearing when I did the oxide, but I was so used to using oxides when stamping, and when you're stamping on paper, it's rare that your fingers actually touch the ink. So I took for granted that it was fine. At least I didn't even think about it. But turns out it will, oops, I apologize, I'm bumping the camera here. It turns out that it will irritate your skin with prolonged exposure. And believe me, it was prolonged, because I was doing a lot of touching, and then I was doing it on this and, you know, some others, and I was even touching some of the other paints, so I'm sure all of it together did not help. So I highly recommend the gloves. But anyway, I basically laid them flat after I got enough paint on it, and then just kept pushing the ink around to spread it out and get really good coverage. And then also still a little bit of spraying, and then basically I just kept tipping it around to let the liquid flow. And as you can see, all those lovely little water-like spots and marks. Isn't that beautiful? I just think that's yummy. Love that. Love it, love it, love it. So yes, these are the oxide ink ones, and I can tell because of the chalky-like finish, which I love about these. Let's see, this one, this is where my memory gets a little bit sketchy. I believe that these two were a combination. Oh yes, I said before. Was it this one or this one? I'm having trouble remembering, but I will go over this when I create them with you, which is why I should have done it in the first place. But when I do other colors, I'll show you, because I know that as I do it, it will come back to me. So let's see. What's left is I covered the distress oxides. I covered the acrylics. This is embossing powder. It's a multi-pack that I think I got from Tuesday Morning, but I'm not sure. It's either that or Michael's. Pastel lilac color, and I even emboss, but I will get to that later. Like I said, I tried to do everything I could think of to glassine bags. So yeah, I covered those. I covered that one, and I covered that. Okay, so what's left is Nouveau Mousses, Food Colors, Perfect Pearls, and Distress Spray. So let's see if I can remember. either this one or one just like it is the acrylic spray, but it came out beautiful. I know that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that this one was the Distress Spray Stain. See how the color is very similar? And I think what happened here was this color is not quite as lilac as I would like. It's, I mean, it's very close to what the label shows or reflects on the color, but it's a bit more on the blue side of lilac, and I tend to lean more towards, you see the difference in the color, I tend to lean more towards the pinkish shades, but you know, there's no such thing as a bad purple in my opinion. So after spraying this, it seemed to be coming out a bit bluish. So I think what I did at this point, yeah, I'm almost 100% sure of this. I'm 99% sure of this. At that point, when I saw that it was a bit bluish, I took out the acrylic, the one that I used with this apple barrel purple, and I sprayed it and then sort of moved it around and combined it, and that's how I came out with this, which I love. I love the spotting that you have down here and whatnot. Such a beautiful color. And then here, I'll show you. It's very faintly translucent. I can see my hand, but you might not. So that's that one. And then, trying really hard to remember. Okay, I know now. These two, the small one and the big one, those are Nouveau Mousses. So, I think. I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure I used a combination of things on some of these, so I apologize. That's why my memory's a little off. But again, we're going to cover all of this, so don't worry. I will get it right. Yeah, this one I'm 99% sure is this one, but I do remember what I did. I'm just having trouble matching some of the bags to the mediums that I use, but I do remember what I did with all of them. So again, I took this and I used my, now I can't, oh my god, words escape you when you get on camera. It's like pressure, pressure, pressure. Anyway, I took this and palette knife, that's it. Do you do what I do too when people are struggling to remember a word? You're like, oh, palette knife, and it's like almost like you're willing them to say it even though it's in the past. Anyway, yes, palette knife. I took my palette knife and I scooped out a bunch of the mousse, and I don't know if you've seen videos or whatever on this before, but it's sort of like a buttery consistency. I don't know if you can really see that, like a creamy buttery consistency. Love this stuff. One of the best art mediums to come out in a long time, in my opinion. It's so versatile. There's so much you could do with it. And if you want to know what you can do with it, I highly recommend Vicky P. I want to say it's Papiano, but I could be wrong, and I apologize, Vicky, if I butchered your name. I love her videos. She tends to do mixed media, art journaling, and card making, and she's wonderful at it. She did a wonderful review of the Nouveau Mousses and showed you, I think, 5 different ways of using it. So if you search Vicky Nouveau Mousse, I highly recommend her video. And again, if I remember, I apologize if I don't, I will try to link it below. But her demonstration is great. It was very helpful to me. And it also made me want to buy every single color, which I didn't, but I bought quite a few. So anyway, I scooped some of this out. I put it down on the acetate. This is getting on to 53 minutes, so I better speed this up. I put it on acetate, and then I... No, I'm sorry. That was the paint. I apologize. I remember now. Okay, I did actually, what she did was I scooped some up and I put it into the mister, and then I put water in it. It really doesn't matter how much. You just keep adjusting it according to the consistency and the colors that you want. But I do need to offer a tip here, one that I had to learn on my own the hard way. That if you're not careful, The mousse, also depending on how long you've had it and how much you've let it sit out without covering, etc., can clog your Mr. bottle. But I figured out not only a way to clean it up, and apologize for all the noises outside, you can unclog it and get it working again and fix the issue. So, and I will share with you how I did that so that it doesn't happen to you. So after it clogged the first time, what I did was I took a pin, or I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think I basically took a pin. Oh, I remember what I did now. I took a little miniature glass, like a shot glass size, and I poured it into that, and then I took my palette knife and really stirred it very well and sort of chopped up any of the mousse that didn't break up, because it might not break up right away. Secondly, I also recommend using really hot water, because that will break it up even quicker. So in the glass, I put the hot water, I chopped it up. I also used a little pin, and then when I was sure it was pretty well stirred, I made a paper funnel and I poured it into the Mr. bottle. See, it comes to me as I'm thinking about it. And that helped a lot. And then after putting it back together, also you have to keep shaking it really well, and in between use you have to keep shaking it so that the materials don't settle. But the first time that I did it, actually it wasn't the first time, because I think one of these mousses is thicker than the other. I think it was the second color that I used that was clogging up the bottle. In fact, I was pushing it, it wouldn't even work. So what I did was I ran this under very hot water, especially right where the hole for the spray is. And then I took this out and I ran the hot water here and down the straw and all over. And then I took a very small pin and sort of wiggled it around in the hole. And I also took, I guess it's more of a sort of an upholstery needle. And it's a very big one, but not too big that it would break it or anything. And I pushed it in here and sort of broke up some of the material that got stuck in there. And eventually, it took a little time and work, I got it unclogged and got it working again. So it does work. You just have to be mindful of the fact that the material can be thicker or thinner depending on the way you use it. I also think that the nature of this material, that some of these are going to be thicker because of the kinds of materials they use and the pigments and whatnot. I think I actually struggled with this color a little more than this one. And that may have to do with the fact that this, of course, uses more pigment. This is a fainter color. So anyway, just passing that tip on to you, mix your mousse and your water before putting in the spray bottle. Otherwise, it worked fine. So this was, what color is this? This is Royal Aubergine. Hope I said that right. Yeah, and I don't know if you can see it in the light, but it has a very satiny finish. Isn't that beautiful? And I love all the speckles and lines, and just love it. And even some of it, you know, and like I said, this was the one that clogged more on me. But once I did it the right way, it didn't clog anymore. So if you get it mixed up really well and use hot water and all that, you shouldn't have this problem. At least I hope not. But you may get little specks of the color where it doesn't mix as much as others, and I love that. I love how that came out. And again, you have that really beautiful satiny sheen, because it's the way these are. These are very shiny and shimmery. But isn't that great? And then here you can see my hand a little bit. And then this one, I'm pretty sure was this color. The only reason I'm not 100% sure is because at one point I think I was combining things. I was spraying things down with the Perfect Pearls. This is the regular Perfect Pearl color, I believe. Yeah, because I have other colors of this, both in the spray bottles and the little tubs. So I may have sprayed this down with some of this, but I'm not 100% sure. It was either one or the other. Either I did just this, and this is, I don't think I opened this one for you. This is plenty shimmery on its own. Very purple pearl. I love it. I mean, just yummy. Don't eat it though. But yeah, it was one or the other, and I'm pretty sure it was just this by itself, but I may have sprayed a little bit of this on it. But again, just love it. You can see my hand very faintly. Beautiful. What else? So yeah, I think this one is just the acrylic spray bottle. And then, of course, at some point I had to delve into food colors. And I even have packages of Kool-Aid because I want to attempt to dye glassine bags with Kool-Aid. I've seen people dye paper, which I'm also going to do, and I have done some already. But I want to try dyeing glassine bags. So I used this purple, which is funny because to me this cap looks like a dark pink or almost pinkish purple. But yes, it's very purple. In fact, it's a very pinkish purple. And I used a few drops of this in about a half a cup of water, no vinegar, baking soda, any of that stuff. I've seen different people say different recipes, just straight water, not a problem. Because you have to remember that if you use this on something like eggs, you need vinegar and things like that because that's basically animal, like bone material. Whereas this is plant-based material. It's from, well, I don't want to say this, the paper is plant-based material because it's from wood, from trees. These I'm not 100% sure all that goes into it. Wax, that's a plant-based, or that's an animal-based material. But the paper, I'm not even sure if there's a hint of plastic in it, but the paper, of course, is a plant-based material. Anyway, I digress. The food coloring and water works just fine. The dye adheres. I haven't had any issues. If you get it wet again, it may move. I'm not 100% sure because I haven't really gone back and done anything to these after they've dried. But I'm pretty sure that these both are from this. Now, mind you, it was a bit on the pinkish side for me. So I took both. I have another box of just the standard colors. These are, they call them neon, but I don't think they really look neon to me. I haven't tried the green or the pink yet by themselves, so they may be more neon. I've read or heard somewhere that most people thought that only the green was sort of neonish. But I love them. I love the colors. And then with the standard ones, if you can't find this, you can also make your own colors because they often give you recipe combinations for the colors. But like I said, straight water, food color. And when I saw that this was a bit on the pinkish side, I added a few drops of either this one or the blue from the regular pack, and it went a little bit more purple. You just have to play around. And then I got these. And again, it removes a little bit of the shininess. So here, I'll show you. Actually, that's the smaller one. There we go. So, put that down. That's the way it looks before. These are like ultra shiny. So that's the before and that's the after. And I kind of like that it pushes back the shininess a little bit. It's still shiny, but not so much so that it'll look overly modern, if you know what I mean. But love that. Love the color. Love that it's just see-through enough that you can put something in there like so and still see it, especially if it had a shape or design on it or something. So yeah, that's all of them, I believe. And then the very last thing I'm going to show you, and then I'm going to end this because I'm just a little over an hour now, is a preview of what's to come for the next video. And a little extra that I made at the end of all this. I mostly stayed within dyeing the purples, or sorry, the glassine bags. But I wanted to test out some papers, which I did. And I also played around with the perfect pearls. And I came up with something, I don't know if anybody's done this before, I don't know. But as far as I know, it's what I created. I came up with pearl paper. Ah, isn't that pretty? I took, this is 32-pound paper, which I bought off of Amazon. I believe it's an HP paper. If I forget, remind me, I will give you a link. But it is gorgeous paper. It's got a sort of little bit of a satiny feel to it, and it's one of the best papers I've ever worked with. This doesn't really demonstrate it because it's been colored and everything. But what I did was, and I remember this pretty well because I was so happy with the results, I took this acrylic spray, and you could do this with any color. I coated it down. Most of this I dried with my heat tool, and so I'm not sure if that affected a lot of the results. Some of it I air dried a little bit, but I was impatient and used my heat tool a lot. But for this one, after the first layer, I heat dried it. This has other things on the other side. This was, I believe, what I had left over of the Nouveau Mousse sprays. Yeah, this was, I'd sprayed what was left over on this side, I think, and then sprayed what I had left over on this side. It was either that or these two, but because it's hard to tell because they're both very satiny, but it was one of those two on this side, and it's okay, it's pretty, I really like it, but this side, oh. And then after I used the heat tool to dry this side, I sprayed it down again and really coated it well. And also I would let it, you know, sort of move the paper and let it move around, and if I hold it right, you can see a lot of the droplets, the way they dried. It's hard to see with a satiny finish, but I think you get the picture. See the droplets, the way they dried? Isn't that yummy? And then I dried it with the heat tool again, and then, after I was done with that, I went over it with the regular pearl color, Perfect Pearls, and I sprayed it really well. And I think I might have done a second coat. You have to try it out and see what works for you. But then I dried it again, and now, oh my gosh, this image does not portray how delicious this paper is. You could almost eat it. Don't though, but you could almost eat it. It really feels like a pearl would feel if you could open it up and stretch it out. It's just unbelievably beautiful for a paper. I could just sit here feeling this paper, and I'm calling it pearl paper because it really looks and feels like pearl, especially these colors, really beautiful colors. But I think it would look good. I think this would look great over any color or any medium. I mean, even, you know, distress, stain, whatever, you're just going to get different results. Acrylics seem to have a more evened out look, whereas, you know, like oxides will have, you know, more like that, and the mousses will have more of a splotchy look, but I love that. So, you know, but once you're done putting whichever medium you choose and you spray this over even like 2 coats, oh, it's amazing. But I think it's also something in this paper that makes it especially pretty. Now, to compare it, I did it on a regular piece of copy paper. I think this is like, I don't know, 23 or 25 pound copy paper. It's not the cheapest copy paper, but it was all I could find at the time. And I did the same exact thing on this side. I sprayed it down with the acrylic spray, dried it, did it again, dried it, and then sprayed it down either 1 or 2 coats, I'm forgetting now, with the Perfect Pearls. And again, it's really beautiful. It's a little more crinkly, which also can be nice, but it's not quite, here, comparing them side by side. I don't know if you can really see, you have to feel it to really get the gist of it, but you see how this is more wrinkly and this is more flattened out? It feels thicker, more luxurious on the 32 pound paper. This feels thinner and more wrinkly, of course, and both are beautiful. I mean, I couldn't pick a favorite. They're both great, but I wanted to share that with you. If you'd like me to, I'd be happy to show you for real how I made this step by step. I enjoyed it very much, so I would definitely love to do it again. And this time, of course, I would make it in the other colors of my palette, which are going to be the yellow, the green, and the pink. So I'd be happy to show you. So yeah, that was the last thing I wanted to show you, and I'm going to end this in just a moment because it's going on an hour and 10 minutes. But I wanted to show you a sneak peek of what I have for you for the next video. Yes, I went around trying to think of everything I could do to glassine bags. So I did some embossing. It's tricky though. It doesn't always work the way you hope, but you can get it to work. I'll save that for the next video. I mentioned to you that I was using deli papers. I'm going to create my own bag out of this. I'm going to sew the sides. I'm going to show you how I sew it. This is just using straight up food color water. And I let it run a bit and blow dried it with the droplets in place, and I don't think the camera does justice, but it came out beautiful, shades of purple and blue. And I found that when you're using the food color water and you go to dry, that at times even without adding the blue to it, just the one that has the straight up purple, the pigments that they use to get the dye color start to separate just a little bit. And you can see it. You can see like blues and purples coming out, and I love that. But if you keep mixing it really well, you can get it more pure, of course. So more sneak peeks. Deli paper, dyed and embossed with a glittery embossing powder. Gonna sew it, make it an envelope. Ooh. More deli paper. This is not embossed, but it's got this, like, I don't know if you can see that. This loopy, hold that better, yeah, it's very hard to see in this light, but it's like a loopy stitch. Brother machines have it, I don't know if others do, but I made a bag out of that. And the tempera paint on the deli paper comes out a little chalkier, but very interesting. I did this heart stitch on the sides, and I'm still going to do other things to it. And one of my favorites, a full sheet of the deli paper. Now mind you, it's folded in half, so let me open this up. That's the deli paper, and when I go to create this, I'll show you the box and tell you where I got it from and everything. This is done with oxide inks. I took the lemon one, I forget the name of it, I don't have it handy, and I'm trying to remember what I did. Oh yes, I took the, again, words escaping me, you get on camera and your brain short circuits, the sponge tools, and I blended it, and ink blending tools. I blended them into this side for the yellow. I haven't decided whether I want to keep this this edge up here. And then for this one, I did an emboss resist, which is tricky with certain waxy materials, and I'll go into that in the next one. But emboss resist, and then I used every shade of, I think, except for one. I don't think I used the spun sugar, but I used just about every shade of pink and purple that I had, and did a purple rainbow across the front. And then I buffed it over to get the emboss resist to come out, and I thought, okay, this is going to be beautiful. I am going to do a full page pocket in the journal. So I wrapped it around a piece, because if you don't, the yellow shows through and makes the melted embossing powder looks sort of yellowish. So you see that? You put the white in, it gets really bright and vivid and beautiful. But yeah, I ink blended all the oxides, and then I sprayed it with sprinklings of water to get the oxide effect. I folded it over a piece of cardstock so I could get this. So I'm thinking, I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to do it, but I'm probably going to put, like I have here, a piece of just plain white cardstock, and stitch the bottom and the top, and do like a side pocket of some sort. But I just love how that came out. I love the purple rainbows. I'm obsessed with purple. So that's a sneak peek of some of the things I have coming out for you in the next one. But that's what I have for you today. So, you know, when it comes to any materials that you use, look around and experiment and have fun. I felt like I was having a glassine bag mad scientist experiment that day, and I had so much fun. And my favorite part, as I end this video, which I'm going to. My favorite part is doing this, is just spreading these out, listening to that crunchy, yummy sound, looking at those delicious colors, and enjoying my beautiful purple rainbow. Isn't it great? Okay, so that's it for that. I hope you enjoyed what I've shared with you. I'm sorry if this was long. I'm a little nervous, and I hope you like what I have to offer, and I look forward to sharing more. And if there's anything I can do to help you or share with you or let you know, please let me know. I love to help people, so I hope you give this a try, and if you enjoy this, please like, comment, subscribe, join me on this journey. I'm looking forward to this journal, and I hope I get to share it with all of you. And I hope you all have a wonderful day or evening or whatever it may be, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.